The K-Jazz Show, Sundays on Kofifi FM 97.2.
You know, there are artists who make music, and then there are those who become the music, who live inside the note, who shape time with memory, who turn feeling into frequency. And this Sunday on the K-Jazz Show, we welcome a voice that has walked with us, grown with us, and now returns not to where she began, but to where she's always been. 20 years in the making, a storyteller, a sonic healer, a vessel of Afro-contemporary truth. And with her latest offering, Ilitye, meaning stone, she gives us something grounded, something eternal, a love letter to self, a return to the origins.
No text, no call, no letter. Queen Ilitye, the pain has just begun. Till now we met by the riverside. We parted at the station. It was a short-lived paradise, a steamy confrontation.
Humaning out loud for the very first time on Kofifi FM. Please help me welcome Zoo. Hello, ma'am. Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you for having me.
A pleasure as always. I'm so grateful that you could join us this Sunday. And we are in celebration of 20 years of your journey. Zoo, when you sit with Ilitye, what does this moment feel for you? Or what does this moment feel like in your spirit?
I am full. It's very emotional. I'm very proud of myself. I have what the Xhosa people call imingcili. I think the apt translation would be like goosebumps and shivers up and down my spine. I'm really proud of my resilience, but also how intentional I've been in this particular body of work.
And you described Ilitye, Zoo, as a love letter from your adult self to your inner child. And as I got ready for this conversation, I was thinking about that, that if that younger version of you could sit here with us right now, what would she say back to you? And I'm speaking about the intro of the project where the opening line says, "I used to hate my voice." Tell us about that space in time and how you overcame that.
Well, to answer the first part of your question, I think if Baby Zoo is in the room with us, she would be like glassy-eyed, wide-eyed, with awe in her eyes, just like, oh my goodness, is this who I become? That is, wow. What? Me? So that's the first thing. The second thing is, I think, repetition. I was telling someone last week, I used to look at myself in the mirror for hours so that I could familiarize myself with who I was seeing, the reflection, and in order to not only familiarize and accept her, but to love her and to know her, to know every wrinkle and every curve and every, dimple, if you will. I'm not a dimpled hand, but every aspect and dynamic of her face and body, just to like see her very clearly and love and accept her as she is. And so I think I've been calling it ancient wisdom. I think it's an ancient wisdom that has had me singing despite not enjoying the sound of my voice. I think it's an ancient wisdom that has had me questioning why would you stand in front of all these people and say these things that you're saying, right? Those are the intuitive voices. But then the ancient wisdom says, because you're meant to, because it's your calling, So I think that being submissive to this ancient power that lives within me is not really something I can explain, but I know that I've not been alone in the journey.
And I love the fact that you moved into the ancient wisdom and the calling conversation, because that was my next thing. The word stone carries both weight and grounding. What does Ilitye hold for you? I mean, is it something that you carry or something that carries you? And whilst we're still here, particularly when we go back to the days of Love Glory, Zuko Collective, including Basha Uhuru, and the many incredible stages that you've been on, what has been that grounding thing for you?
I think Ilitye, okay, so the Ilitye I am referring to in particular in terms of the context of this album is Ihlalutye. There's a pebble is called Ihlalutye. Amatye mos, Ilitye is a stone, so a gemstone, a big rock, gamatye lao. But in this particular context, Ihlalutye, a pebble, and even to zone in even further, a gemstone, right? This is the gift that Big Zoo gives to Baby Zoo to say, this is my gift to you, keep it safe. And so that is the pebble, the Ilitye we are referring to in the album. And I think, I'm not going to lie to you, it's only in the process of creating this body of work, this 20-year celebration album, that the idea, the concept, the analogy, the feeling of Ilitye comes to me, right? Because I think the whole time, yes, it's been present, but it hasn't been something that I've been consciously aware of, and if I may just tell you the story of Ilitye, the vision I have in my mind is Big Zoo gives Baby Zoo this pebble, and she says, this is my gift to you, keep it safe. And the baby, because babies are silly, swallows the pebble. And years go by, and she's searching for this thing because she remembers she was given a pebble, but she doesn't quite remember what she did with it. So she's searching and yearning and, panicking because I was given this thing and it is important. And And then years later, she then again encounters Big Zoo to say, I'm so sorry, I lost the gift you gave me. And, and Big Zoo's just like, what are you talking about? This thing that you've been yearning for, this thing that you've been searching for, it's inside you. It's been inside you this whole time, And so that is the concept of Ilitye. And I think it's only in this very intentional work to reunite myself and reconnect with my inner child that I've become aware, of Ilitye. Because I think I am both Big Zoo and Baby Zoo and Ancient Zoo, Godly Zoo. I have not been carrying the knowledge of Ilitye through these seasons, right? I've only now come to have that realization in this conversation with God Zoo and this Zoo and Baby Zoo to say, Haibo, like this light, it's mine, this void I've been thinking I have has actually always been just intrusive voices. I've never been missing anything. I've always been complete, so it's very recent, but also very old at the same time somehow.
I'm yearning for your love. Book on and down as it come by you. I'm feeling for your touch. Deep in the song de la she's so here. I can't help myself, I have to say. Des women, they go by day, just the way you want them. My dear, feel so good. When sometimes, yeah, sometimes,
Coffee FM, this Sunday, we are in the company of South African contemporary musician Zoo, who joins us to reflect on 20 years in the music space. And of course, we've also get, to listen to her latest project, Ilitye, meaning stone, in the Xhosa language. Before the music break, you and I were talking about this pebble that consistently has lived within you, yet you keep looking for it everywhere. And I think that's everybody's story. We're always finding something. We're always looking for something. Mm-hmm. And there's a deeper sense of healing and reclamation for you in this project. Was there a moment in the making of this project where you felt something truly shift within you? Or maybe it's that realization that Nandi enough from na, perhaps?
I think I've been going through moments my entire life. I think my entire life is a collection of moments, and the awareness, the presence of mind, the mindfulness in those moments to say, okay, I don't know what's happening now, but I'm noting that something is happening, and so not even necessarily during the making of the album. I think the making of the album has been the 20 years leading to it, because even on this album, there's a song I wrote when I was 16, and this is the first time I'm giving it to you on the DSPs. It's been on SoundCloud this whole time. And, just Ilitye, Never Gonna Let You Go. These songs are self-love, self-love. These are all songs where I'm looking myself dead in the eye and saying, you are incredible. The magic of you is truly you, and also, in as much as I say that the first thing you hear me say is I used to hate my voice, I also end up telling us that, being you is your superpower. Being you is your superpower. And so I can't lie to you and say there was a profound moment during the process of making the album, but I think what was profound was how I arrived at making the album, how I became the woman who could then make an album like that.
And you've always walked, Zoo, the creative path of independence, if you may call it that, curating this project yourself. I mean, what did you allow yourself to do differently this time? And having spent 20 years, in the industry, what was this creative process for this conversation, if we have to break it down like that?
Yeah. So, interesting, when you said, what did you do differently? My mind said, no, I wasn't doing anything differently. I was becoming, I was zoning in on a perfection of a craft, on a mastering of self, becoming a humaning out loud, becoming on a public platform, on a global stage, because that's what we do when we put our music out on these DSPs. Anyone from Brazil to Bethlehem can listen to these things and these stories and feel you, whether there's a language barrier or not. Music is a language in itself, so there's that. And so I don't think I did anything differently. I think I really just went I describe myself as a selfish woman. I'm very selfish. I'm very self-centered. And I think that society tells you that selfishness is wrong because we are supposed to self-sacrifice. And the system says, uniform, everyone, 1, 2, 3, and 1, And
Yes.
maybe I don't want a 1, 2, 3. Maybe I want an ABC. Maybe I want XYZ, And so just really, another thing I do when I'm making music is I don't listen to other people's music. If I've never heard it before, I'm not going to listen to it. And for like the longest time, I would just wake up and say, "Hey Siri, play Joyous Celebration," for like months and months. That's all I was listening to, because I was raised in the church. And so I think the curation of this album was really to say, first and foremost, who are you? And when they listen to this album, and you walk into a room, will they be able to tell that you are the one that made this album? Is there a thread that combines what you sound like and who you are when you show up in a room? And another thing is, anyone who's followed the journey will know I've never really been one for a genre. I've never been for a box. Even with Love Glory, we could have a reggae song now and a neo soul song then and a poetic a cappella type of thing. And so I wanted an album that honored who I am, that encompassed, if I died tomorrow, God forbid, that you would be able to say her last body of work encompassed so beautifully and perfectly who she was, the journey, the storytelling, the textures, the genres. And I think, even if I do say so myself, I've outdone myself. I think the textures of being a millennial baby, I'm an 80s child raised on all the things we know the 80s babies were raised on. And I wanted to speak to our culture. I wanted to speak to the code switcher that I am. I wanted to speak to the fact that I'm a mother and a daughter and a Black woman in South Africa. And I think that this album really does carry every single layer of who I am.
Fragile hearts keeping afloat for the sake of a dream. My sweet melody, you and I, we should try. Give yourself the opportunity. Oh, stop judging me. High as a cloud, I fly as I dream this dream where you and I are pretty kites touching skyscrapers. So maybe we doubted at first, but now I believe that we should try. You and I, we could make poetry. Cantante love, cancete love, can charm love, yaketa love, can cling love. We uncasa love, you and I. Make poetry. It's your eyes, it's your smile, how you're always a pleasant surprise. You tickle me. You and I, we could try. Give yourself the opportunity. Oh, stop judging me. High as a cloud, I fly as I dream this dream where you and I, pretty kites touching the skyscrapers. So maybe we doubted at first, but now I believe that we should try. You and I, we could make poetry. Cantante love, cancete love, can charm love, yaketa love. Cantante love, cancete love,
I always say the music is lived at the intersection of story and sound. How has your relationship with storytelling though evolved over the 20 years now that we're celebrating 20 years of Zoo?
I think, you mentioned earlier in the introduction, which tickled me so deeply, humaning out loud. That's my thing. That's become my thing, I human out loud. I think we're living in such a curated timeline. We're living in the age of social media and content calendars and, face beads and appointments to shoot at this and that and influencer this and that. And I have no issue with that, but I don't think it's accurate. It's not an accurate representation of what the human experience is. And so, humaning out loud and telling these stories, whether they're painful or embarrassing or what one might call cringe, they are what I'm experiencing. They are something I'm not experiencing on my own as well. There's so many people who relate to every single song has its people where they're like, this song, I was listening to this song and I remember this one relationship and this and that and that and the other, and there's a song, Ikamba, I think it's track 9. And Ikamba starts out lamenting a future that a man promised me. But in verse 2, I account. The first thing I say in verse 2 is, Oye namdu onetyala. Dim. I'm actually at fault because I insisted that you could be my king, right? And so these are the textures of like the human experience that I really wanted to bring forth to us. The accountability, the admission of like, oh, you really hurt me, man, like I'm mad at you and like my pride is wanting to tell you, sod off, man. But like, I want to admit that you broke my heart, and like it's not weak of me to say that. It's human, and so for us to be messy and embrace our human experience and leak before we burst, because disease causes disease, and just live proudly and loudly, and that's really very important to me.
Sitting within the context of jazz and the jazz circuit feature, we're in the company of Zoo on the K-Jazz Show. And of course, together we're exploring a different color to the usual. She's a contemporary South African musician, and we have also been listening to music from her upcoming, in fact, her latest project during this conversation. Really great conversation. And of course, if you missed out any of the moments, do make sure that you catch it on the rewind that is on our podcast platforms. That is literally after the show this Sunday. Let's talk about the music. The singles, Never Let You Go and Nobuhle, gave us an early glimpse into, this new era that we've been talking about in the past 20 minutes, you and I. What do they reveal about, where you are now, versus where you've been, in contrast? And how has, there's a stone, I'm throwing a stone, there's a pebble. How has Europe influenced this new season?
Yeah. So what Europe did, I'll start at Europe. Europe showed me flames. The first thing is I got to the airport and like, breakfast was water and a croissant, and that cost me like 100 and something. I was like, oh my God, this is going to be tough. This is going to be a tough 3 weeks. But I was quite deliberate and I wanted to go and see the world because I think we're quite privileged in South Africa. It's a quite saturated industry. We're very talented. When you live when you grow up in the suburbs, if I may throw an analogy at us, you grow up in the suburbs, you don't know what it's like in the hood. And the irony of me saying South Africa is the suburbs and Europe is the hood is not lost on me. But in a sense of music and our talent, we are so rich. Yeah. And you might, as an artist, not realize just how talented you are and just how special you are, because everyone's talented. It's like the States and Hollywood. Everyone's acting and singing, and then you think actors must sing and singers must act. No. That is not the case. That is our thing. We are the ones who are talented, Also, I'm a Xhosa woman. We know the thing about the Xhosa women in the industry, right? So I needed to go out there to realize and remember how special I am on a global, in a global context. But also, just to stretch myself. I think we get comfortable. We allow ourselves to get comfortable. And I'm a person who loves to grow and loves to challenge herself. Now, in terms of Never Gonna Let You Go and Nobuhle, as I said earlier on, I'm not a genre specific creator.
Mm.
And when I released Never Gonna Let You Go, it was the 7th of November. We were preparing to go wild. Pens down, laptops closed. December, you know, we are tasting December, you know, during weekend morning. And so I wanted to appeal to our love for the streets, but I also wanted to say, listen to these lyrics. Never gonna let you go. You know, pursue the you that you're becoming, and understand that the magic of you is you. You know, I love the idea of a song being great for the mood sonically, but also doing something for the soul lyrically. You know, I love that. That's my thing. And so that's what Never Gonna Let You Go was. And then a few months later, I got a Nobuhle, which was completely different sonically. And then it's a bit naughty because it's a girl hitting on a girl. And I was like, you know, there's more to love than heterosexual love. It's 2026. Let's explore some things. You know, let's be a little mischievous and spicy. But also sonically, I was preparing you for the unpredictable nature of the body of work I wanted you to receive in February, right? Because if you're going to put Never Gonna Let You Go, it's on. Next to Nobuhle, you don't know what's coming next, right? And I like that. Scam confirm.
Unpredictable.
You know, yes.
Unpredictable.
You know, so
You know,
that's what I wanted you to be on your toes and wonder what's coming next.
Oh, you're certainly keeping us on our toes. This Sunday, of course, it is the Jazz Circuit feature as we explore jazz on the alternative side. And of course, we're painting the color different this Sunday with our guest, the effervescent, the bubbly Zoo. And of course, we've been listening to the project Ilitye as we, we bring together, the centerpiece that is this conversation this Sunday. Taking it on the road, Ilitye, from King's Cross to Bloemfontein and beyond. What does performing this body of work live now mean to you? And what kind of exchange are you hoping, with your audience?
I've always known that I'm better live, but the beast that I am now. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Look, at the risk of sounding vain, I am at my peak. I'm in my element on stage because I was honed by musical theater and choir. And anyone who's been in a choir or been in musical theater knows that it's in the face, it's in the articulation, it's in the the body move. The body is an instrument. And so I really think that in as much as we really put in all the work, my production team and I, to make this digital version of the music as immaculate as we could, the live performance takes it a notch further. I've got a brilliant team of musicians behind me who are seasoned in their own parts and rights. And we, have deliberately cooked an interpretation of this body of work that I'm so very proud of, and they are so very dedicated to. And so, we performed. We ended up not doing King's Cross, but we moved ourselves to African Freedom Station, which was godly. It was even more beautiful than it would have been. And then I did Sofa Sounds, just now recently. And I'll be heading to East London at the end of May, and I'm in Botswana in the end of June, and I'm talking to Cape Town and Durban. And I'm an independent artist, so these conversations are happening slowly and carefully, because I have to be very intentional, about what I agree to and what I allow into the space. But due to the world, I'm also talking to Europe again about going back with a little more experience, maybe a little more randelas, and just, sitting in my season, settling into my element and allowing myself. I took a bit of a break to work on my mental health and recalibrate and understand exactly why I'm here. I think it's very important in the arts to understand why we are here. And now that I'm clear on that, I'm here. I'm here.
You have certainly arrived. And of course, we'll be there every step of the way, as we continue to celebrate the best of South Africans by Africans. And with every step you move, the KJS show will always be right behind you, giving our audiences a front row seat, to some of the best cooking, this side of cooking. And finally, 20 years, you say you're not revisiting the past, but you're integrating it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about that, as an artist, as Zoo, as a woman living in the modern day South Africa.
So, first of all, I want to say something that might seem unrelated, but it's definitely one of my pillars. Black love is political. And when I say Black love is political, it's not because I'm anti anything. It's because I'm pro Black love. We're a country that carries a lot of history in terms of, racial conversations and our colonization and oppression. And I'm a woman who's raising 2 Black men. I have 2 sons. God's gifted me with 2 sons. And so as a feminist who leans towards being a humanist and not radical, it's important for me that I understand our history and how it influences how we move forward, right? And so I think I'm being very intentional in that regard. Also, I mentioned earlier that I've been operating on ancient wisdom. So this person that I am embodying isn't new. It's someone I'm remembering. It's someone I'm accepting, someone who's now healed enough to stand and say and sing things with her chest. I used to be the leader and matriarch of collectives where I was saying we, and I'm learning the power of I, and not as a vain, overly individualistic concept, but knowing that we are as strong as our weakest link, and understanding my role in my family, in my community, as a mother, as a coach. I coach teenagers, as a leader, as a storyteller. My voice is important, and honing it like something that is important, wielding it like a sword that is powerful, and not just being careless and cutting everyone everywhere, and so I've been very deliberate about reconnecting with God, the God inside me, reconnecting with the inner child within me, protecting her in every way I can, loving and reassuring her in every way I can, and allowing her to frolic as well. I think we cage our inner children so often, and it takes so much away from us. We age prematurely when we do not allow our inner children to frolic and chuckle and giggle and, have crushes and whatever else the little people inside us want to have. So it's definitely been remembering and not a new person. This is an old Gogo that's come to play now with her.
Well, we're grateful to meet the Gogo that's always been there, and we are grateful for the work that she does. And we celebrate the spirit that which she comes at us, embodiment of a room that needs healing, an embodiment of a space that needs to change. The energy is different. And I'm happy that the music is doing that with us. Of course, her name is Zoo, and she is a voice that is not just heard, but felt. A reminder that music can be a mirror, a memory, and sometimes the way home. Ilitye is officially available on all major streaming platforms. And of course, do take your time with it. Let it speak and let you settle within. Zoo, thank you for joining us this Sunday.
Thank you, my king. Thank you so much for having me.
Of course, she's the incredible voice, a South African contemporary musician, Zoo, on The K-Jazz Show.